One of the best ways to gain class consciousness is to understand who the middle class is under a capitalist society, okay? Because a lot of people, when they're thinking about classes, they usually just think of classes in terms of how much money you have, okay? So you have poor versus middle versus rich. But that's not what's important in determining your class, okay? What's important is not how much money you have, but how you were able to obtain the money to begin with. So under a capitalist society, there's two major ways in which you can build your wealth, okay? You can build your wealth through your own personal labor, which makes you a working class person, or you can build your wealth through owning capital, but not just any capital, capital that working class people need to survive or do their job. And basically you are siphoning money from the workers to yourself through that ownership of capital. And that makes you a capitalist. And you're truly a capitalist when you don't have to work at all and you don't have to sell any of your assets. Your assets are just going to generate the money for you day in, day out. Well, it's not really the assets that are generating, it's the working people. But anyways, I digress. So who is a middle class person under this system? First, I just want to mention when the average person uses the term middle class, they're usually referring to someone who just makes enough money to live comfortably, okay? But that's not a good definition because usually most middle class people are just higher wage working class people, okay? So take, for example, you have a McDonald's worker versus an engineer, okay? Which the engineer would be seen as middle class or upper middle class because of their wage. They make more money than the McDonald's worker, but both of them are both working class people because they both build their wealth through their own personal labor, right? The only difference between the two of them is that one is paid more than the other. But if they both quit working, they stop building wealth for themselves. So they both fall under working class. So a true middle class person would be somebody who's between a working class person and a capitalist. So somebody who owns some capital that they can use to extract money from working class people, but not enough that they can quit working themselves. So they still have to provide labor to supplement their income with also the capital that they own. So perfect examples of middle class people would be somebody like a small-time business owner that has employees that they don't share ownership of the company with, or a small-time landlord that owns a couple of additional properties, okay? Because they have some capital that, again, they are using to extract money from other working class people, but not enough that they can quit their job. And usually what their job is their job is something like managing their business or their properties, okay? Which I just want to be very clear, managing something and ownership of something aren't the same thing, because you can own something but not manage it, right? Because if your business becomes big enough or you own enough properties, eventually you can just hire a property manager or you can hire a manager of that business, yet you still own it and you still pocket all of the money, okay, or all the profit because you have ownership of the capital, okay? And when you get to that point where you no longer have to work at all and all of your assets are just bringing in the money for you without you having to sell them, you have truly become part of the capitalist class. And I just want to end here with that. If you are middle class, a true middle class, or if you're working class who strives to become a capitalist, I don't see you as a bad person, and I'm not trying to demonize you because I get it. Under capitalism, the class that receives Easy Street and all the benefits of capitalism are the capitalists, right? And on the flip side, the working class is the one who gets the short end of the stick. And it's hard to be a member of the working class, especially at this stage of capitalism, because you have to not only work to provide for yourself, you have to work to subsidize the entire capitalist class. And that sucks, okay? And it's hard, and people are tired, and they want some relief from all the working that they have to do. And under capitalism, the only way you can do that is by being or becoming a capitalist, okay? However, if you do that, though, all you have done is you have gone from the exploited class, a member of the exploited class, to a new member of the exploiter class, right? And every person that successfully does that, that means now the backs of the working class has more. You're piling on more and more for the working class, so we all have to work harder. Okay. And there's a better way. There is a better way for us to do it than just strive to become a capitalist. An easy thing that we can start today is start or help your fellow working class people gain class consciousness and help start forming unions in your workplace, because that is a way that you can get more for your work without having to become a member of the exploiter class.